Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is Austin here, bringing you guys another StarCraft 2 commentary. This match coming from the WCS EU Season 1 of 2014 Finals. This is a best-of-7 series. This match, in particular, is game number 4 between our blue protest spawning at the bottom left of Yonsu, which is MC. Minchul in this game is his username. And at the top right, we have on Team Acer, the Red Terran MMA. MC, the blue protest, he is currently under sole sponsorship for the longest time, played for Team OGS way back when, and then on SK for quite a while, and now both of them playing in WCS EU, at least in this particular game and in Season 1. I have noticed that in examining the SC2 hot scene, as I've told you guys in the past few videos. I will say officially this is probably the second to last video that I'll say this in. Still new to HOTS, still adapting to the new strategies and units and builds. I did play Wings of Liberty for quite a while, so I'm not at all out of touch with the basis of StarCraft 2 professional gaming, but just forgive if I'm not exactly on point when it comes to newer units. But I will say that these two players have always been very, very highly touted as strong players in the Korean scene and the global scene. I would argue that they were somewhat the earlier among the earlier wave of Koreans that moved over from Korea to North America, to Europe, to go to MLGs, to go to IPLs, to go to different international tournaments. So that's why they kind of have the most fans overseas. A lot of Korean players have immense talent, but you just never hear about them or see them unless you specifically watch GSL. And even then, there are some Koreans in GSL that get knocked out of Code S, or that don't quite make Code A even, that low down in the hierarchy, that are actually phenomenal players and could be GM easily on NA and do well in some casual NA tournaments, and yet we just don't see them. So it's very good that players like this get some exposure and get a fan base. Of course, I'm not doubting their ability. These two players are phenomenal, and it will be interesting to see how they show down. I'm casting this game in particular because it was the highest voted on Team Liquid, and I will point out the fact that MMA is going for a Reaper. The main change between Heart of the Swarm and Wings of Liberty in terms of Reapers is that you no longer need a tech lab to use them, and so that means a lot more Reapers are being used in the early game. Although Protoss have their own response in terms of the Mothership Core, so we'll have to see what MC decides to do. He is getting a Stalker. I don't know if he has any units on the field right now, but we are just going to quietly follow this Reaper and see what he can do. MMA playing for Team Acer, which is originated with Nurchio a couple of years back. I do remember that, and now have absorbed some Korean players, formerly of Slayers and whatnot. Of course, this might be old news to some of you guys, but again, I told you, HOTS is still a little bit of a new game. There is a Stalker finished for MC, so that will fend this off, and thankfully for MC, he gets out of it largely unscathed. The thing about a Reaper is that it's not a massive investment, so somebody like MMA can get away with using that. Any Terran player, in fact, can get away with just building a single Reaper, and if your opponent's off guard, they're off guard. Of course, MC, being MC, is not going to be caught so easily by something of a simple harass, but any lesser player may have lost some probes to it, and that would have given MMA a borderline free advantage. Reapers quite inexpensive, only 50-50. The gas is a little bit taxing early on in the game, but you know what? No sweat off MMA's back. He's getting a fast expand, and so too is MC. So very interesting to see the dynamic of TBPs. There is the Reaper now moving back in. It does have that very useful healing ability. When it's out of combat for a certain amount of time, it regenerates life very quickly. It just adds to its durability. There's the Mothership Core coming over, and the Stalker and Zealot. So this Reaper is going to stay alive, because that ability triggers quite early after they're exiting combat, and just proves useful in terms of the Reaper survivability, as you can see there. See, it's rapidly regenerating. I do remember when they had those little charges that they would throw at buildings when they targeted buildings. That has been removed quite some time ago, but it was a little bit cheap in terms of just Reaper usage. Good to see these units being used, though, because there was a while where nobody used Reapers in any matchup, though generally it's TVP where they are used. Did MC use a Photon Overcharge? I don't think so. I hope not. No, I believe that was just the attack of the Mothership Core. It's a little hard for me to differentiate again, because HOTS is a new battlefield into which I'm pouring. Very fast blink coming out of MC here. He's chrono boosting that like there's no tomorrow. Widow mines being built over by MMA. His factory just pumping them out along with some Marines. He's got 2 more barracks coming down. That's going to give him 3 total. So it looks like he's just going to go for some some bio mind play, let's just say. Getting a couple of bunkers here at the expand. He's expecting early aggression. He has scouted his opponent's natural, so he knows that his opponent's playing macro. TVP was generally a matchup for Winged Celebrity, defined by Colossus play from the Protoss, if they could make it that far, Vikings coming out of the Terran and bio, and it just came down to micro. Who could storm better, who could EMP better if the game got that late. And I'm pretty sure, from what I know, I have a friend in Grandmaster who's kind of been my strategy guy. His name is Legend on the NA server, if you want to look him up. And he's really been my go-to to get me quickly, give me a crash course on HOTS, and he's told me that it's a similar matchup, though Widow Mines and Tempests have slightly changed it, but we'll have to see how this game in particular plays out. Forge coming out from MC, so he will get some upgrades in short time. He's got a couple more gates. That gives him 3 total, so he's going to have to expand a little bit more in his infrastructure. He does have Blink, so that will be interesting to see how he makes use of it. The bunkers here just giving MMA pretty much a solid defense, along with the additional Widow Mines. Just makes it virtually impenetrable, at least with the forces that MC has. We'll have to see if he goes maybe for some observer play. He doesn't have a robo. He's getting one now. Maybe some observer play, blink onto the high ground, or drops or something like that. There is a nicely placed Widow Mine here just for vision out of MMA. MC controlling this Zelnaga watchtower. So both of these players macroing out, just pumping out workers of their own. 42 to 41 of the harvesters. Those are quite impressive counts for this 9-minute mark here. And it's just going to be a matter of who decides to possibly grab a third base, what kind of unit compositions they are going to go for from here. MC taking the Robo Facility, quite standard. That'll counter any sort of tank play coming out of MMA or heavy Marauder counts, and also give him the tech option for observers, for potential blink, like I said, War Prisms for maybe an elevator or drops. And we'll have to see. I find MMA just played it smart, played it safe by getting these bunkers here, and now he's going to make a small little timing push out, and we'll have to see what he does. MC warping in a couple more Zealots. He is going to get charged. Useful upgrade, especially this early on in the game. That will help him soak up fire. Ultimately, Zealots are just going to be meat shields in a way when you get to a certain point of facing bio as a Protoss player, and it's just a matter of deploying them as meat shields so they can actually deal some damage and not just absorb it and die. That is what charge serves to do, as I'm sure some of the more advanced players among you know, and that's why it's useful to get. He opted for Blink first, but I don't even think he has a very high stalker count, only 6, so he probably thought, okay, maybe I'll go for some Blink aggression if he's not adequately set up to defend it, and then once he saw he was, okay, quick tech switch to charge, grab a robo, and let's get going. We'll have to see what MMA does here if he decides to attack. I don't know how much of this MC has seen. A single Marine is going to be sacrificed. I feel so emotionally attached to this poor guy. He is just getting completely donated to the Protoss army for the purpose of scouting. And now we have a slight little skirmish back and forth. Good force fields there, but some of the Marines are going to be the slip between. There's a quick reaction out of MMA. Those dropships just picking up and dropping off as their names suggest. Actually, Medevacs, I'm so out of it right now. I'm a little bit tired. Medevacs, dropships, you get the point. As I was going to say about the little sacrificial Marine, I wonder how vision works in terms of StarCraft 2 logic. Like, does he have a radio? Does he have like a GoPro installed on his Marine helmet that gives information to the rest of his army, or to the overmind that's building everything and controlling everything? I do wonder how exactly that works. Comment below if you have an idea of how vision in general works. Observers would kind of make sense. MC just losing his here, and MMA having a ridiculously long production tab. But just tell me what you think would make sense for vision. Just smaller units, Marines, Zealots, stuff like that. MC is going for the Templar Archives. He's going to get stormed right now and chrono boost that. So a very quick tech change. He's actually completely avoiding Colossus play, which is smart. But what I really like right now out of MMA is his Ghost Academy. He is going to go Ghost. So this is like, hey, it's like they signed kind of a contract verbally, or maybe just telepathically. MC says, hey, I don't really want to go for Colossi right away, and I'm sure you don't really feel like building Vikings either, because that's boring. So why don't we just go for, or actually, MMA does build a Viking here to chase out this War Prism, but mass Vikings we're talking. MMA probably said, okay, I agree. I don't really want to build Vikings. You don't really want to build Colossi. Why don't you go Storm and I'll go Ghosts? And then they just agreed on it, and that's how it worked. And we're already at that stage of TVP where AMPs and Psionic Storms dictate the outcome of battles. Hey, they signed a telepathic agreement. And I probably missed a couple of small engages on the minimap, and you will all come after me for it. And you know what? That is perfectly fine. But I will pay a little bit stricter attention apart from my little jokes. MMA poking out here again. We're just having a little bit of teetering on the edge of an engage. Widow Mines will play an important role in MMA's defense of his base. He's got them spread out nice and evenly just to catch any Protoss units that might otherwise be out of place. We'll have to check what MC's vision is of this. He sees Widow Mines. He knows his opponent has them. He's going to have to get out a couple more observers or use this one perfectly, because if MMA manages to scan and take it out, that could be quite useful to him in terms of surprising his opponent with Widow Mines. MC getting the third. MMA already has it. So, as I was saying a little bit earlier, it's a matter of who gets the third first. Both of them were kind of like, should we fight, should we macro? MMA decided to macro, and MC didn't really punish him for it. This War Prism dying, oh, if he could have kept that alive, that could have given him reinforcements on the go. Two High Templars here, both with energy enough for storms. If they could get a feedback on these medevacs, that would be critical. Charge Watts just chasing after the medevacs. Unfortunately, they are too fast for the High Templar, but AP could get a feedback. They have virtually full energy, so that would completely destroy them both and would cost MMA so many resources. Now we'll have to see what MC does. Don't forget, he is a base down, so I don't know if this is the smartest idea. We'll have to look at active forces at army supply. There we go, 125 to 113. So MMA isn't as far ahead as I thought. Worker counts are in his favor as well. But I wouldn't risk it if I were MC right now. There's a Widow Mine just taking out a Stalker and a Zealot. I believe there'll have to be an Observer brought in here. Archon being morphed. I think his High Templars, two of them got caught out of position. There's a two-pronged engage coming out of MMA. Widow Mines burying themselves, and MC's going to get out of there because he does not have an Observer on hand. Where is his Observer? Does he have one at all? He has 3 right now, but I'll have to see where they're being placed. MMA scanning. He's trying to force his opponent into a corner, and there's those Widow Mines running to the front. Beautiful storm. They're going to deal a lot of damage to them. Not quite knock them out. There's a little bit of a rough storm out of MC, not actually doing any major damage. 2 of them very low, but not completely destroyed yet. So MC is just very nervous right now. He needs to get a War Prism over here to reinforce on the fly because he lost his earlier, and it's just so essential to get those reinforcements right where you are. It is a weakness of Terran. There is the engage. Great EMPs coming out of MMA. Decent force fields from MC, and the Charge Watts making such a difference. Despite the EMPs from MMA, his bio is still suffering here. The stim pack ending, blinking forward out of MC. Immortal chasing. So I don't know who's going to take this engage. There are the collapsible rocks being collapsed, and that is a beautiful play out of MMA on the fly, just in the moment, forcing his opponent to take a detour because his opponent had quite the advantage. There is the Mothership Core coming. Just a lot of Charge Watts right now, but you do not want to over pursue. Cloak coming out for MMA. I believe MC knows that his opponent has Ghosts, so he's getting another Observer. Also, those Widow Mines. Another CC out of MMA, so MC is going to be down on another base in some time. It could just be a macro CC, but I'm quite sure that at this point in the game, he's going to use it for a 4th mining base. Now, we'll look again at our army supply value, 86 to 70 in favor of our Terran player, but I found in that engage, doesn't matter what the supplies were, or maybe in the heat of the battle they were in favor of MC, but MC he just outplayed that. There were a lot of very, very near misses where it could have gone horribly in his opponent's favor. Right over here where he had a 2-pronged engaged against him, but he just said, you know what, I'm going to get out of here, I'm not going to bother. He used this Charge Watts to his advantage, so very smart out of him. Some vehicle and ship upgrades coming out of MMA. Cloak as well, and 2-2 for his ground units. He's going to get a starport. We'll have to see what he decides to check up to. He's getting a couple of Vikings and Widow Mines. No major siege tank counts for him because he knows his opponent has Robotech. There's the Colossus, so now MC is violating their telepathic agreement by building Colossi and getting extended thermal lances. We'll have to see how much of this MMA actually knows. He's been scanning relentlessly, and he is going to go attack the front base or consider it with a small little force. So does he know about the Robo Bay? That's my question. No, he does not, so he'll have to scout the Colossi for himself. There is the 4th mining base landing, and MC is going to have to consider getting one of his own. Harvester counts close to the peak that they're going to be at. Here is a nice little skirmish. The High Templars trying to get some storms off. They will do minor damage, but nothing particularly potent. Could have been better. MMA has these small little rogue forces. There's an entire storm used for a Widow Mine, but preventative measure, he could have lost a lot of units, and these High Templars will have time to regenerate energy. MMA has split up his forces into small little groups, medevac strike teams, and I do not necessarily disagree with that because he hasn't lost any of them yet, but he is kind of messing around here, and that could cost him. There's a beautiful feedback out of MC, and just as I said, it could cost him. It does indeed. There's the units lost. Probably shifted in MC's favor in terms of losing less units just because of that feedback. That's how good it was. MMA, I like the strike team idea, but when your opponent has high Templars and when you're that close to his army and you know it, I would not risk that just in terms of just caution. He could have dropped from the other side knowing his opponent's army wasn't really there. He's going to pump out Vikings, so MC has a small window to attack. He is getting his 3 weapons, so is his opponent, so they are roughly on par, but the Viking count is just going to slowly increase. Here is one of the strike teams moving in, but nice response time there out of MC, and look at the storm. Incredible response. Our resources lost is just going up for MMA, and MC keeping his constant. He is replying perfectly to this multi-pronged aggression. A lesser player would crumble and would maybe even punch out a GG after several of his bases fell, but look at our income, look at our resources. The income is similar, but I'm just look at the amount of resources currently available for MC. I would say push out, throw your army at your opponent, expand on production, build a couple more robos even, or Stargates. He does have 2 robos. Just expand your tech so that he can reinforce as fast as possible. MMA is slowly macroing up, but I would say MC just completely kill your army off. Waste it. Obviously don't waste it micro as best you can, but I would just say don't be afraid to lose some of your army and reinforce it right away. No War Prism again. Well, he has a max supply, but I would say War Prism just to reinforce on the go. Some of you may vehemently disagree. There is a little bit of a Widow Mine group here, and MMA is going to pick that up. MC seemingly knows it. He might have had vision or something of the sort. There is a photon cannon here, so nowhere for MMA really to go with this. We'll have to see. I think it's going to be attacked by the cannon just out of range, so he's going to go probably drop on the edge here. Very smart play out of MMA, and we'll have to see what kind of damage it does. Boom! There goes some probes. Beautiful drop there. So MC defending, but finally just loses out to, just slips up once, and it costs him fairly big. He does lose a good number of harvesters. He's going to have to probe back up, and it's just going to be a thorn in his side that he doesn't really want. There is still another Widow Mine here, and it is slowly nearing its point of deployment. We'll have to watch that. There is just a Zealot attacking the PF over there on the left-hand side, and this is soon going to fire, and MC is not going to know it. There it goes, killing just a couple of probes. Here's a minor engage, few Zealots, and some bio. So, a lot of Ghosts out, a lot of Vikings out. MMA has the counter to his opponent's forces, and he knows exactly what his opponent's forces are. It's going to come down to micro, guys. We are going to have to see how this battle plays out. Here is a little bit of an awkward engagement point out of MMA, but those Vikings doing their job and doing it well. The Colossi are going to be a non-factor in this engage. There's a nice storm, though. That's going to weaken a lot of the Vikings. There's another storm. A couple of feedbacks going down. There are some charge lots coming in here, sandwiching some of the more important Terran forces. Vikings landing. This is a very, very interesting engage. Multifaceted, a lot of different angles. Storms coming out. The High Templars caught off guard by the Vikings, but they are going to kill them. And guys, MC comes out on top definitively in that engage. Beautiful job by him, just responding to his opponent. He still keeps the Colossi alive, or he just built 2 more, and I'm a complete idiot. But either way, he survived the Viking aggression. He stormed well. He did exactly what he had to do to win the engage, and we're going to have to look at our current army value. That is vastly in the favor of MC. Our army supply, I meant to say, about 50 supply in favor of MC. We'll have to see if he is able to close out this game as a result of that one engage. MMA has a lot of production, and he now is going to go a base down on his opponent, but right there, Orbital just compensating for it. He is just responding nicely to the destroyed command center by MC, and we'll have to see how this is going to play out. I like the engage from MMA. I like the tenacity. I like the boldness. I just don't like how his forces got split up, how he clumped the Vikings, how he controlled the engage. I think he could have landed better EMPs. I didn't notice them particularly, or I didn't see them make a huge difference. MC was on his home turf, and he has a lot of gates. There's a Mothership Core not so smartly dying there. A lot of Archons here, so MC is just going to pull back. I think there was a nice EMP there, wiping out a lot. Yeah, there was indeed. Wiping out a lot of the Zealot and Archon shields, so MC is going to wait until those regenerate. But what I intended to say was MC just has a lot of gates right now spread out across all of his bases, and he's able to reinforce so quickly on his home turf in his pylon ranges that I just feel as though it wasn't the best idea out of MMA. He should have tried a more aggressive drop strategy from an interesting angle, or just faked out his opponent with a push and then actually attacked him somewhere else. There's again a minor little skirmish. I just find it wasn't the best tactic out of him. Here's MC moving in. MMA is going to have to make a definitive stand at some point here. There's the PF picking off some of the zealots, but I don't know, guys, if MMA is going to be able to hold off MC. We're going to have to see here. Bio barely holding. The Ghosts using Snipe to weaken their opponents, and it looks like MC may not actually be able to close this out. The Vikings are taking down the Colossi, which do not have very many Stalkers to support them. It's going to be so close, but it actually looks like MMA is going to hold this off for the time being. MC's just trying to do as much lasting damage as he can. He realizes he's going to lose this whole army, so why not lose it in style and kill as many of my opponent's workers as I can, which he has done. 16 Harvesters ahead of his opponent now. He's going to reinforce here. Just a matter of him not overcommitting and losing too many forces. He's still trying to close out the game, and he's killed so much of his opponent's tech that he's very nearly won it here. If not right now, he probably will win it in a couple minutes' time. There is MMA just hanging on here. The supplies are surprisingly even, but the difference here is the economy. MMA's only chance at winning at this point would just be an immediate responsive push. There are a lot of observers moving here, and a Dark Shrine was built a little bit ago by MC, so he will be able to respond with some DTs, bait out some scans maybe with 1 or 2, and then kill off the whole army. But MMA does have a bigger army supply at the moment by quite a bit. We're going to have to see MC use that production as soon as possible to hold this off. He made a nice attack, but right now he's kicked the Hornet's Nest, and he needs to survive the Sting, or the Bee's Nest. I should actually say. I would say Hornet in any other example, but in this example, he's kicked the Bee's Nest, and he has to survive all the stings, because the bees are going to die after they give the stings, but if he dies from the bee stings, he's dead. So he's going to have to... If he holds off this immediate next wave of pressure, I think he's going to take the game. The Harvester count disparity is too high, and every second that passes allows MC to get more and more even with MMA in terms of army supply. He's already close to even with a lot of Charge Watts and Archons. So I just think MMA is going to have to try to close it out with a nice little push, and that's going to have to be that. Otherwise, it's game for MC. There's some very nice storms. One High Templar completely ravaging, or 2 of them ravaging the Terran forces. I think one of them died because of his own storms, but the other one also helping with some nice ones of his own. So here are MMA's forces, some SCVs being pulled because of the aggression on the command center there, and a little bit of lag randomly. My apologies, a lot of lag. Sorry about that choppy moment. Here are some Charge Bots moving in now against MMA's forces. It's going to again be a close engage, but I just think MC has the capability to reinforce so much quicker. The income is not nearly the same. We'll have to see, though. I keep counting MMA out, but he's very, very much so still in this for the next couple of minutes. Like I said, we'll have to see if MC is able to defend this. He has made the expand, as White Rob was saying. Now can he defense it? It looks like he might be able to. Beautiful stutter step out of MMA. He is going to snipe up a lot of these charge lots. Those concussive shells making all the difference. Picking off an Archon and then another Archon. So he may well get this base. MC's supply is falling. His army supply is at 17 right now. So that economy that I've been talking about for some time is very useful, but it's not useful if you have no army to back it up. MC just warping in charge lots. He's actually not that high on resources, and he calls the GG. MMA steals the game. Wow, that was quite a win. I kept hyping it up as though MC was taking it, and it was my mistake because MMA, the bee stings were too much. He was I stand by the theory that he was going to lose the game if he didn't get that immediate push out win. But I think MC kind of agreed with me in a way in terms of how he played, and that he felt, you know what, I think I have this game. And he played as though he had the game, and he was just closing it out with a push. He almost had it when he pushed out with the Colossi and Immortals right here, and although he lost that army, he did a lot of damage. Unfortunate that he lost this game, indeed, but I was just kind of rooting for him because of how he handled some of the bigger engages. Obviously, I'm not overly favoring one player over the other. Just the way I was casting it was kind of saying MC was going to take it, which it very well seems so, but this speaks to MMA's ability to come back, to get those beast things in that small window of time that he needs to win the game, and he was even macroing up on the back of it. So I just think almost too economical there by MC at the end, and also a matter of him not using the Dark Shrine and not adequately microing his forces towards the end. He was kind of wasting charge lots on Archons thinking he could close it out, and MC had more forces and more reinforcement capability than, or MMA had more forces and more reinforcement capability than MC thought. Anyhow, guys, I thoroughly enjoyed this game, and just to let you know, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, I can't even speak right now, I'm just stuttering. Spoiler alert for WCS EU Season 1. I will tell you the winner. It was MC in 6 games, 4-2, if I recall correctly. I know he won. I don't know how many games exactly. I've been talking enough after the cast, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I sure did. See you next time. Austin out.